What's going on, guys? It's Rick from Only Football bringing you another episode of Only Football. Today, we talk the biggest news of the day. Tom Brady has retired again. Then we're going to go into Sean Payton and D'Amico Ryans getting their head coaching jobs, the first head coaching jobs of the offseason. And then we're going to finish it off with some preseason predictions revisited. Let's get it.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Only Football. A little chipper than usual over here. Is that the right word? Chipper?
No, it's actually sadder. Sadder. That's what you're looking for.
I know who is sadder. Las Vegas Raider fans, Kansas City Chiefs fan, and Los Angeles Chargers fans. We got some really, really good news out of the Mile High City. Let's start, though, because I'm going to go a little bit deeper on that one. Let's start with the Houston Texans and the signing.
What? We're not going to start off with the biggest news of the day?
Let's start off with the biggest news of the day. Tom Brady?
Tom Brady? Oh, come on, Kyle.
Dude, I'm in my own world right now.
Come on, Kyle.
Biggest news of the day. We're going to go right into the Sean Payton. You know what, though? Tom Brady, he retired last year, and he even said it in his short video that he posted, 57 seconds long, I think. He said, I'm not going to do a long-winded speech and do a whole essay about this because I did it last year. But somehow the video felt more emotional than the long essay did last year. You could tell he was holding back tears. You can tell that he tremendously loves this game, that he's been able to play till 45 years old, which was always his goal. And he decided it's time to hang him up. I had my suspicions when I saw the way the last game went against the Cowboys. I said, there's no way he's going to leave the league on a note like that. And then today we woke up and Tom Brady is officially, for realsy, retiring from the NFL. What's your immediate reaction to that?
Dude, I was kind of in shock. My immediate reaction was I was kind of in shock. I woke up and we live on the West Coast, so we get like all the news kind of late in a sense, right? Because we're waking up like as 30 things have already happened on the East Coast.
Depending on how you look at it.
Yeah, really, it really is. So I woke up, I turned on, or I looked at my phone to see what time it was, whatever, and I got an ESPN notification. Tom Brady has officially retired. And I was like, what the fuck, right? And the first thing I do is I went to Instagram, and that's where his video popped up. And like you said, it was probably a lot more, it was way more personal than the first one, the one last year that he had made, right? Because it was like produced, there was actual like production value put in it, and I'm not here bashing the one he had last year, the goodbye video he had last year. Like, it was really well done, and it showed all pretty much his career from beginning to end. But this one, like you said, it just felt more real. It felt more like no one's going to take my shine today. I'm the one who decided, and I'm the one deciding right now that I am no longer playing football. I am hanging up the cleats. I played until I was 45. And like you said, that was always his target year for playing football. And yeah, man, it was shocking because I didn't expect it so soon. It was just shocking. I was just like, I don't know if shocking is necessarily the word, but maybe just like surprise and just kind of like my jaw dropped a little bit. But I do like that he kind of did it in a video like that. And like you said, less than a minute, he said, you said that he was holding back tears. You could definitely tell when he was like thanking his teammates, his family, his friends, his competitors, all that stuff. You could definitely tell that he was starting to tear up. But yeah, very surprised and very, very personal video. And I loved every second of it.
Yeah, and if you guys didn't get a chance to see that video, we did edit it into a short that you can see on the Star Six Media YouTube page.
Yep.
And also, I have it right here. So he said, "Good morning, guys. I'll get to the point right away. I'm retiring. Pause for good." He
Mhm.
said, "I know the process was a pretty big deal last time. So when I woke up this morning, I figured I'd just press record and let you guys know first. It won't be long winded. You only get one super emotional retirement essay, and I used up
Mhm.
mine last year. So I really want to thank you guys so much, to every single one of you, for supporting me, family, my friends, my teammates, my competitors. I could go on forever. There's too many. Thank you guys for allowing me to live my absolute dream. I wouldn't change a thing. I love you all." End of video. Really
Mhm.
emotional, like you said, and it was very shocking, I think. So I just thought we could just kind of sealed the conversation that Tom Brady is retiring. We are truly blessed to be able to live in an era where we got to see him play football
Oh yeah.
for 2 full decades. I mean, you think about it, I'm 20, am I 20? I'm 28. 28,
Hell yeah.
which means I've been seeing Tom Brady play football since I was 8 years old, and that is crazy. Like, I was in
Yeah.
elementary school when Tom Brady started playing football, and now here I am becoming a full-fledged man, and
Mhm.
Tom Brady is retiring. It's a very long time, and sometimes I think it gets lost in the way it's repeated that Tom Brady played a long time, but it's really truly incredible to think about how we can all look back, people our age can look back and go, man, like, our whole entire life Tom Brady was playing football, and think
Mhm.
about how much we've grown up from when he took his first snap, right?
Yeah.
And you got to think, even for Tom Brady, he's probably, because it's not like you stop growing up. I talk to anyone that's 40 and they'll say, man, when I was 30, I thought I knew life. And now 30 to 40 is like, I didn't know shit at 30. And then a 50-year-old kind of says
Yeah.
that about 40. And it's like,
Yeah.
so Tom Brady has just grown up and become wiser, and he decided that this is his time, and I'm pretty sure he he knows that about himself. I don't think this is like a Brett Favre kind of
Moment. Yeah.
impulsive, I'm coming in, I'm coming out. I think he didn't want to retire last year, and
Mhm.
Giselle made him, and I think this year it was Tom's decision. And I think when you talk about a guy that has the competitive drive that Tom Brady has, it always had to be his decision. And if
Yeah.
you make him choose, it's like the famous line, there's a, why didn't you make him choose? And it's like, because what if he chose this, right? Because they don't want to get left. And
Yeah.
Giselle made him choose. Uh, Whether she knew or not he was going to pick football, he did. And he wanted to play one more year, or however many years. He probably didn't know, but he knew that this has to be my decision when it's time to hang him up. This can't come
Yeah.
from anyone else, or I'll be an old, regretful, bitter, angry soul when I get big,
Yep. Yep.
or get older. So this is Tom Brady's time that he could sit at the beach alone in Tampa Bay, listen to the waves, kind of a stormy day, and just say, you know what? This is Tom's decision, and I'm going to retire. And he definitely is going to retire at the top as the GOAT. He's a 7-time Super Bowl champion, 3-time NFL MVP, 5-time Super Bowl MVP, 2-time NFL Offensive Player of the Year, 3-time first team All Pro honoree, 3-time second team All Pro,
Yep.
15-time Pro Bowler, 2009 Comeback Player of the Year. He was named to the NFL 2000s and 2010s All Decade teams, and we'll talk about that actually a little bit later. But I think when you look at the resume, it's unparalleled to anything we've ever seen of any athlete take snaps in the
Yeah.
NFL, perhaps anybody that ever played any sport. So congratulations to Tom Brady. I wish him the best. I hope he has a great time in retirement. I know there'll probably not be a job that he can do to really, the itch and the competitive drive that a guy like Tom has. You're not really going to be able to scratch that in a booth or on Fox. But hopefully, when he looks back on his career, he realized that he left it all onto the field. And honestly, that last game, it looked like he was kind of, it looked like it reminded me of Manning on his last year, where you can just see, like, there's regression. He doesn't want to get hit, right? And that's why I think Tom knew. He just watched AFC and NFC championship games. He watched Hurts and Mahomes, and he's about to see the Super Bowl, and he had to ask himself, like, can I play like at the level Jalen Hurts and Mahomes are playing at right now? Or is this kind of a, never ending chase that I just need to take a step back and be content with everything that I've accomplished? And I think he's deciding to do that. So congratulations to Tom Brady. And that's pretty much all I have on that. But unless you want to add something to that.
Yeah, and real quick before I do that, Jinja is in the chat. Jinja, what's
What
up,
up,
brother?
Ginger?
Cheers. He's saying the way he said he wouldn't change a thing was cool. Don't let Giselle win today. That's funny. There's a little dig there. And like you said, man, because the video was I want to say probably it was not only personal, but it felt like something that someone like him who has been doing what he's been doing for almost his entire life. It's like that perfect place, like you said, listening to the waves, kind of taking it all in, looking back at your entire career. Maybe he was just walking and contemplating it and blah 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 and this and that. It just felt like such the right way to do that. To just again do it at a video there, do it on the beach, do it as you're kind of just taking everything in, reminiscing on stuff. So I just enjoyed the way he did that. It was great. And this guy, like you said, he retired with all those things. That he led the NFL in passing touchdowns 5 times. 02, 7, 10, 15, 21. That 2002, that was his second season as a starter. Like that's insane to as your second season as a starter to already lead the NFL in touchdowns. It's ridiculous. All the good things that he did. All the Super Bowls he won. I found myself growing up with him as like the monument of success, right? Tom Brady was the guy of this is what you want your football team or quarterback to perform. That's the level you want them to perform at. And there's very few times I was rooting against Tom Brady. One of them being like an 07 against the Giants, just because I really like the Giants that year. I don't know why, but it was a good story.
Yeah.
There was very few times I found myself rooting against Brady, and a lot of people hated me for it because they're like, oh, you're just going with the winner, blah blah blah. And I was like, well, I mean, yeah, what's wrong with going with a winner? Everybody always hates a dynasty, everybody always hates a winner, but
why?
Why exactly? Why do you hate that he's good? Why, like, if he was on your team, you'd be defending the hell out of him. They're like, well, yeah, but he's not. It's like, exactly, he's not. And that is what you want. You want Tom Brady. You want a Tom Brady like player on your team.
I think it might have been too the cheating from Josh McDaniels and Bill Belichick and the deflated footballs. Like you can, I'm not going to say that it's going to be a like kind of a smear on his career, but it will be because they're
I don't
playing.
think so.
I just think like a lot of that stuff, right? Why did it always come out of New England?
What?
Like I think that's what made people upset. Is like, why is it always the Patriots that are caught filming other teams at practice? It's like, if you're so great, why do you have to cheat? And I think that whether that was Tom Brady's decision or not, I think that kind of pissed off a lot of people. Me personally, I'm with you. I always cheered for him. I was like, let's see how many he can get. Like, and plus, I could get it if you're a Bills or Dolphins fan or somebody in division. Especially how you feel about Rodgers and I feel about Mahomes, but for the whole world to kind of, there was like two sides. You either love him or you hate him, it felt like. And I was definitely one of those guys that was like, yeah, the cheating stuff's like, it's lame, but I still like Tom Brady. Like, I don't know how much of that even got, talked to about him. Like, hey, Tom, we're going to go record the other. I'd highly doubt that happened. And for all we know, a coach could have heard like Tom Brady likes his football's a little deflated. I knew that in training camp, and they did it without him knowing or something like that. I mean, but I think like people just are always looking for a reason to hate people, especially that are successful. And I think Tom Brady just kind of became a victim to that. And me personally, the only Broncos quarterback Tom Brady ever beat in the playoffs was Tim Tebow. Like he couldn't get past.
Really?
Yeah. Like Jake Plummer even beat him in that game I showed you last week with Champ Bailey's interception. Peyton Manning bested him every time they played when Peyton was in Denver. So like, I have nothing like animosity towards Tom Brady or anything like that. So I'm super happy for him. But
Yeah.
there are going to be people that are just always hating greatness. There's people that hate Michael Jordan. There's people that hate LeBron James. It's just
Yeah.
the bigger you are, the more people that are going to hate you. Remember, Cat Williams said like, haters are supposed to hate you. That's their effing job. you know,
Oh, look,
uh,
I mean, that's true. That's true. And I could see why, like, again, like you said, Jets, Bills,
Jets. Yeah, that's the other big.
Dolphins, like those three teams probably hate him because they were in division. And like you said, I hate Aaron Rodgers now because he's on the Packers, but if he went to another team and won a Super Bowl, I wouldn't be mad. At the end of his career, I won't be mad if Aaron Rodgers was as good as he was. I'm gonna be happy that he's out of the fucking division, first of all. But I'm also
Yeah.
gonna recognize what he did in the NFL, what he did with the Packers, all this stuff, right? Like you have to recognize greatness. And I think a lot of people, because you saw a lot of the reactions in like NFL morning shows, throughout Twitter, all these people just like, he's the goat of goats. He's the best that ever did it. And I think it's going to be a long time. Maybe not a long time, but I mean, Patrick Mahomes, Bill, what's his name? Josh Allen. A lot of these guys are looking good, but man, for how long Tom Brady has played, it's going to be, I think it'll be tough to replicate that type of success over the period of time that he was in the NFL.
Yeah, I think if anyone's going to do it, it's Mahomes, because you look at
Yeah.
Tom Brady's NFL MVPs, and he's got 3 of them. And you look,
Mhm.
Mahomes is probably going to get his second this year. It's
And they
like,
both won their first Super Bowl in the second season of their
yeah.
career.
And I think Tom Brady's the only guy to go to 5 AFC championships in a row. So,
Really?
yeah, dude, it's really hard. 5 conference championships in a row.
I honestly, I thought it was Mahomes was the only one.
Oh, no. I think Brady did it. That was because I remember they pulled it up on the game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'll verify.
Okay. Yeah, no, he's and again, Brady, ridiculous. What is it, like just here, 7 Super Bowl victories, like we've gone over, 1,200 postseason completions, 13,400 playoff passing yards, 88 playoff passing touchdowns, 14 game-winning drives, and 9 fourth quarter comebacks. All of those the most in NFL history. You can't get better than that. Mahomes is going to be close as long as that success continues. But I mean, I don't see him slowing down anytime soon. It just requires the longevity that Tom Brady, was in the NFL
Yeah,
for,
no,
for
he's the
23
first.
years.
He's the first one to do it. I think Brady went to
Mahomes.
4 in a row.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. See, that's what I thought. I was like, I'm pretty sure they said something last week about Mahomes being the only one to go to 5 in a row. So insanity from Mahomes already.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, yeah, he'll definitely, I think, be a guy that could kind of flirt with some of Tom Brady's numbers. But
Yeah.
what he does in his first 10 years is one thing. Longevity is a whole nother ball game, and Tom Brady
Absolutely.
definitely plays a different style of football than Mahomes. So
Yeah, for sure. For sure. All right. Well, that was Tom Brady's retiring again today, earlier this morning with a personal video. And yeah, good luck to him. TB12. He's got a lot of shit going on. He's gonna be with Fox for like 10 years or something like that.
yeah,
So he's fine. He's fine.
yeah,
um,
he's gonna be really busy.
yeah. But let's move on to
Oh
our
wait,
next. Go ahead.
is he gonna retire a Patriot?
You mean is he gonna be in the Hall of Fame as a Patriot?
No, like you sign a 1-year deal with the Pats to retire officially as a Patriot.
Oh, like a 1-day retire contract thing?
Yeah.
Uh Probably not. I think he retired just now, and I don't know. He might. I have a feeling he'll go into the Hall of Fame, and it's not even really a feeling; it's more like certainty. I think he'll go into the Hall of Fame as a Patriot in 2028. I think he's eligible, and I think he should be a no doubter Hall of Famer, obviously. But I think he goes in as a Patriot. As far as retiring, I think he just retired as a Buck, pretty much.
See, I think he's gonna sign a 1-day contract with the
You think
Patriots.
so?
Yeah,
Okay.
because that's like kind of like I don't want to say like the classy thing to do, but you look at like all the player like Brett Favre, like a lot of
Mhm.
these guys, wherever they were home for the majority of their life. Even Emmanuel Sanders signed a 1-day contract to retire as a Bronco. Um,
Oh, okay.
yeah, so it's just like really it comes down to like Peyton Manning retired to Bronco and did not sign a contract with the Colts, and a lot of Colts fans were pissed. They're like,
Yeah.
dude, and then it just really what it comes down to is like, what was the best part of your career? And it's like, the best part was when I was in Denver. Okay, sign the 1-year contract. If Brady sits back and he's like, you know what, like, I want to officially retire as a New England Patriot, he'll
Yeah.
sign the 1-year deal. But if there's any animosity at all with Bill Belichick or any of that, I think he'll stay retiring a Tampa Bay Buck. But whatever decision he makes, it's going to become a big deal. It'll
Yeah.
be like, oh my God, he didn't sign with the Patriots. Holy shit.
Yeah, it'll be a big deal. I think just regardless because he is Tom Brady. So I don't see him doing a 1-day contract with the Pats, but he could do it, and that would be huge. I think for the Patriots and Patriots fans as an organization. So again, good for Tom Brady. He retired again, this time under a minute. So let's move on to the news that Kyle definitely wants to get to. Sean Payton signs a contract with the Denver Broncos to become the next head coach and hopefully fix Russell Wilson, maybe actually give him a cookbook to learn how to cook. Maybe use his weapons, his offense to actually get it going. Kyle put up a reaction video on the Star Six Media YouTube, so go check that out. He can't contain himself. And that's what I loved about the video is like he's walking outdoors, walking inside, turns around, just pacing like he was that excited, and I loved it. Kyle, I'm going to turn it over to you for this exciting signing. What were your initial thoughts outside of like the video that you posted?
Um, okay. So first off, initially, I couldn't believe it. I
Yeah,
thought, I thought they did a really good job. I don't know if this was like these coaching searches are so weird because you have like all these games that are played. It's almost like a relationship in middle school where you're like, oh, I'm gonna like flirt with this person, but I know she's watching because I really want her, and
yeah,
like all these like things, and it was like weird. Like if you're a fan just watching, you're like, okay, so now Sean Payton is he's really impressed with the ownership group and everything seemed really good, and then boom, silence for a week, and you're like,
yeah,
okay, things must not be going that great. They haven't even scheduled a second interview. Then all of a sudden, we're in Ann Arbor talking to Jim Harbaugh, and I'm like, hey, Jim Harbaugh, that's a good thing. I was like,
yeah,
okay, that's a good thing again. So I was like, maybe we'll get Jim Harbaugh because they realize, oh shit, we have to land Jim Harbaugh. And at that point, I was like, Sean Payton's definitely out. I was like,
yeah,
there's no way like they're doing that for Sean Payton. And then you turn the herd on with Colin Cowherd, and he's like talking about how Russell Wilson is the thing that he's going to make him not want to be a head coach for the Denver Broncos. So I was like, oh my gosh, that Russell Wilson is killing this for us. And then he was talking about they don't have any cap room and flexibility, and it all just felt like it was over. It was like, man, we got really close, but the owners didn't present a contract in the meeting, and Sean
yeah.
Payton's moving on. And I didn't think he was going to take a different job. I thought he was going to go back to Fox. I was like, yeah, he's going to go back to Fox. And
On Payton?
yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't think he was going to take the Arizona or the Houston or the
Mhm.
what the hell is it? The other job for the Panthers. I just like, no, he's not. I don't see Sean Payton becoming a Panther.
Mhm.
And then you just turn the TV on and it's like the Broncos are agreeing to terms with Sean Payton. I thought it was like a clickbait. And then I saw like the 5 other videos that all said the same thing. And then I looked at the bottom and it said NFL.com. And I was like, holy shit, like this is real. This
You're
is
like, no
actually,
way.
dude, I literally, my hair probably in my head started standing up from like my goosebumps. I was like,
Yeah.
it was like one of those moments you'll just never forget. And especially when you look at Sean Payton as a guy that when Drew Brees, same size, right? Undersized guy,
Yeah.
wasn't really known for doing anything great. Sean Payton fixed Drew Brees and led him to being one of the greatest passing quarterbacks of our generation.
Yep.
And it was like, well, if he can do that we've seen Russell Wilson be good with Pete Carroll. I refuse to believe he's fallen off the biggest cliff we've ever seen in NFL history. I just think he wasn't being used right. Sean
Mm-hmm.
Payton already said earlier in the season, like week 4, how to fix Russell Wilson. He did it on national TV. And ever since then, I was like, dude, what if we got Sean Payton? I didn't know it could actually happen. I was like, it was just a pipe dream at that point. And I think the fan base is split. There are people that are like, this is awesome. And there's people making fun of us because like I just saw
Mm-hmm.
this let me see. It was somebody saying the Broncos had basically traded 3 first-round picks, 3 second-round picks, and 3 players for Russell Wilson and Sean Payton. And the world's laughing at it. And I'm like,
Well,
yes,
yeah, that's
yes.
what I don't really understand. I hate when people do that. Basically, this happened and you got this. It's like, no, like all these moves were made at the time for certain pieces and stuff. But also, it's like you just got a Super Bowl winning coach, Super Bowl winning quarterback. Yes, they had, Sean Payton hasn't coached in a while and he hasn't been in the Super Bowl in a while. And Russ obviously had the year he just had, but I think put those two together and that's just a formula for success in a way, right? Going forward.
Yeah, and I don't like people that feel like once they have all the knowledge,
Yeah.
like, then it's like, "Oh, I would have done it differently." Like, shut the hell up. No, you wouldn't have. Like,
Yeah.
Russell Wilson was in the conversation for MVP for almost all of his years in Seattle. He is the fastest quarterback in history to win 100 games. And he did it in 10 seasons. He has the resume, and he was still peaking in his career, or if he didn't peak, he plateaued at the top.
Hmm.
And the Broncos made a blockbuster trade for him, and nobody thought, "Oh, Russell Wilson's washed up." So, like,
Yeah.
just because he had a bad year because Nathaniel Hackett couldn't hack it and he was way in over his head doesn't
Yeah.
mean that it was a bad trade. Like I feel like we don't even know who Russell Wilson is at this point, but I'm pretty sure he is not the quarterback we saw last year. I'm not saying he is the great or even a top 10 in the league,
Hmm.
but I do think he could get somewhere around top 15. And with Sean Payton, maybe scratch top 10. I do think he could be the comeback player of the year next year. And I wrote right here, Sean Payton was the Saints coach from 2008 to 2021. I only did it to 2020 because that's when he had Drew Brees, and that's kind of the comparison here with
Yeah.
Russell Wilson. But 2006 was his first season as a head coach anywhere. He averaged 25.8 points a game. And now I'll just go down in year chronologically: 23.7, 28.9, 31.9, 24, 34.2, 25.9, 25.1, 25.5, 29.3, 28, 31, 28.6. In his last year with Drew Brees, 30.1, which means Sean Payton averaged 26 points a game if you average all of those numbers by the years. If Denver had Payton in Sean Payton's worst year with Drew Brees, then because in their worst years, they averaged 23.7 points a game.
You guys would have been in the playoffs.
Not only that, if Denver had Peyton in his worst year at 23.7, Denver would have been 14-3 and tied
Hmm.
with Kansas City for the number 1 seed. And not only that, they would have beaten, because the Bengals and the Jaguars scored 20 points each.
Yeah.
There could be the Broncos in the Super Bowl at 23.7 points a game. And just going on, I mean,
I mean, just
that
going off
defense.
points, sure. We're
Yeah,
saying,
but
a lot of things. Yeah.
we're also assuming that Denver's defense was better than Kansas City's this year, which isn't
Yeah.
really an argument I feel like is hard to sell to anybody.
Hmm.
Um, because they were one of the best defenses in the league, and Kansas City was one of the worst. And they pulled together a couple good games at the end, and I'm not even getting the playoffs thing. All I'm gonna say is
Yeah.
there's no doubt that overnight the Denver Broncos are so much better off with Sean Payton and as the head coach. A first round pick. People are mad that we gave a 30th overall first round pick. 30th. It's like, dude, I would give this year's and next year's first for Sean Payton. And
Yeah.
I care about picks. I'm not like a total F the picks guy, but
Yeah.
it's Sean Payton. How many Sean Paytons come around? And
Yeah.
look how long Sean Payton spends with the Saints. This isn't a 4-year contract with Sean
Mhm.
Payton. This isn't a 6-year contract. This is, we don't know. But what we do know is Sean Payton could be the Denver Broncos coach until he decides he doesn't want to coach anymore. He could be 65 years old for all we know, 70
Yeah.
years old. I mean, this is imagine he's the coach for 15 years and you're looking back and you're salty because you gave a first round pickup in 2023. Like, that is
Yeah.
ridiculous. It could be in 2050 and you could have this coach still. This is
Yeah.
not a big deal. And I think the Denver Broncos now, it's 2 seasons in a row that there's going to be Rocky Mountain high expectations for the Denver Broncos. And last year we kind of learned our lesson. So I think we're all managing it pretty well. But there's no doubt that this is something that should be celebrated. This is something that Denver should be excited about. And Sean Payton definitely. And the last thing I'll say is there were fans that were like, we can't, what is a coach going to do if we don't have an O line? We don't have any money. We can't do this. We can't do that. And I'm like, listen, that's why Sean Payton is here. Graham
Yeah.
Glasgow, they would save $16 million if they cut him. Ronald Darby on defense, they could save $9 million if they cut him. They're going to start moving players. That's what Sean Payton does. Like, you look at the situation it is now, and
Yeah.
he's like, okay, how can we do this? And you have the owners to use the cash guarantees to manipulate signing bonuses and contracts, the deep pockets of the Waltons. We've talked about that. That's
Oh
what
yeah.
Green Bay doesn't have that. So
Mhm.
I think there's going to be a lot of movements, and Sean Payton's going to be one of the guys that's kind of driving that as far as personnel and who's going to be on the field and who's going to be playing. And if Russell Wilson, like, usually we said, it's if the quarterback stays, the coaches go. If Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury are going to have a issue, guess who gets fired? The guy that's in Thailand right now, right?
Yeah.
So this is different though. If Russell Wilson doesn't work out, Sean Payton's staying. Russell Wilson will be the one leaving. And
Well,
that's what I love about that.
yeah, and I don't deny that part. Is I think both, obviously you paid 240 million to Russ. He's staying for the contract. Unless the Waltons just want to fucking be like, yeah, we'll pay his contract, you take him, something like that, right? Sean Payton like got paid a lot of money for this job. Well, let's just be real, right? This guy's getting paid like $25 million a year to coach the Broncos. Because it is a tough sell to be like, hey, come to Denver where you get to compete against Mahomes. It's like, what? No, fuck that, right? Like, it's difficult. It's a tough task for any coach, whether it's Sean Payton or whether it's just some first-year head coach like Hackett, right?
Yeah.
What I will say is, all the people, like you said, all the people saying this is a bad pick. Oh, basically, they got Russ Wilson and Sean Payton for blah, 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 blah. Who gives a shit? You just got two big names in the NFL for the past at least 15 years, big names in the NFL. Russ Wilson, sure. Did he struggle last year? Sure. Could we, there's plenty of things to blame. Hackett, the offense, injuries to what's his name? Javante, who's your running back?
Williams.
Javante Williams. Like, all that stuff, all these little things build up to that, right? The play calling, all that stuff. I think I think it'll work out. Maybe it won't be. I don't think it's gonna be like bam, light switch. The Broncos are all of a sudden competing for the AFC Championship game. I don't know if it's gonna go that much from red to green. You know what I mean?
You
Like,
think the defense gets worse? Because the rumor is he's bringing Vic Fangio.
That's what I heard too. He's bringing Vic Fangio,
So
and
the
obviously,
defense isn't going to regress. We're not
I don't
losing
know.
anyone.
I don't know if they're gonna regress to a point where they are the problem. I think they'll regress a little bit. I don't think they're gonna. I don't think they'll regress to the point where they're letting up 30 points a game, are last in the NFL. I think they might regress one or two spots just because it's tough for defenses to maintain that consistency as far as like a top 5 defense, without, like, I don't know, maybe adding youth or the unexpected injuries that happen, right? You lost Chubb, so things like that, trades, whatever. So I think with Vic Fangio, it'll probably be a very good defense next year. I don't think they're going to regress in terms of like, oh shit, what happened to the defense?
No,
Yeah,
no, no.
I think it'll regress in a little bit, maybe.
I was just gonna say, I think they get better because when you look at the defense this year, they had to be on the field 80% of the game. So if
Hmm.
Sean Payton improves the offense, that means that the defense is going to have more breaks. They're not going to be on the field. Like the fact that I think they're the best defense in the NFL because all those other top defenses had Josh Allen in the Bills offense, or they had Joe Burrow in the Bengals offense. The
Hmm.
Broncos had the worst offense in the league, and somehow were top 3 in defense in
Yeah.
almost every major statistic. So the fact that they're not going to be on the field the whole game, let's like if I give you 10 opportunities and you nail on 4 of them, that means okay, you're hitting 40% of your drives on touchdowns. Now, if you only have 5 opportunities in a game and you're nailing at 40%, what are you going to get, like 1.5? Yeah, it's just like
Yeah.
I'm looking at it like the defense was extremely outplayed this year. And the fact that they were able to do that makes me wonder what they're capable of if they're not on the field for the entire fucking game, you know?
Yeah, that very well could be the thing, right? With Vic Fangio there, because he is just a genius for defense as a coordinator. It could very well that they improve. It could very well be that they are just as dominant as they were last year. But I don't know. I just think it's difficult for defenses to stay as dominant as they were the year prior, and it
It's
always
hard.
seems to be a regression, with like the top defenses. Um, but again, who knows? Again, I don't think they're gonna like regress to being a top 15 defense. I think they'll go from a top 5 to a top 6 or 7 defense, maybe. Like that's the regression I'm
Oh,
talking about.
okay.
They're still a good unit, but hey, maybe they let up an extra half to 1 point per game next year. You know what I mean? Like it's nothing
Yeah.
crazy. But I again, I don't think the team as a whole is just gonna fucking flip a bitch and just be like, "Hey, we're 14-3 this year now." It's like, whoa, that's crazy. Could it happen? Probably. I just don't think so. But again, just like Jinja says here, any team in need of a head coach would want Sean Payton. I would make that trade immediately.
Yeah.
If he's fucking available, why not? Right? Like if the Bears were in a situation where, and they were in this situation, which is just mind boggling, where Tom Brady makes himself available, and 3-4 years ago, oh no, we believe in Mitch. Bullshit, dude. Get Tom Brady right now because that's gonna make your team better. Something like that. A Tom Brady, a Sean Payton, a whatever coach, he becomes available. You pick him up. You see what's going on with these like big names going into free agency or being available, and then you want to scoop them up right away. Just like Nathaniel Hackett, just like Dable, just like Salah, like all D'Amico Ryans, who we're going to talk about here in a bit. These
Yeah.
big names who have made a huge impact on teams as coordinators will get picked up immediately. So again, the Sean Payton pickup, that's yeah, it makes sense. And the Waltons, the richest people on the fucking earth, are like, hey, we'll give you this chump change of 25 mil a year. You'll take it? And he's like, yeah, I'll take it. Absolutely. And I'll be living in Denver. Let's fucking go.
Yeah, and I think the only reason I have kind of a contrasting opinion a little bit is because I don't have I have realistic expectations, like you're saying, about Sean Payton's ability to flip the offense, right? He
Mm-hmm.
may not be able to flip it, but they were the worst offense last year. And Sean Payton never had years like that in any scenario. He made Jameis Winston good. Like what?
Yeah.
So just and I don't think that's the thing, man. That's what made this year the most frustrating Broncos year of my life is because all we had to do was score 16 points, more than 16, right?
Yeah.
Every week we came on this podcast, week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and I'm like, dude, we just need 20. And remember, I was like, if the Broncos had scored 22
Yeah.
points a game, they would be like 12-1 by week
Mm-hmm.
13.
Mm-hmm.
So the only reason I'm so high is because I do think Sean Payton, he doesn't take the offense from here to here, but he takes them from here to here. unfortunately for the Broncos and where they're at right now as a franchise, that's all that is needed to start winning a lot of football games. And we'll see if he can get it done. But I have no reason to believe Sean Payton can't get us over 17 points a game. And
I
the defense is keeping key pieces. Randy Gregory will be back. Patrick Surtain's improving. Justin Simmons isn't going anywhere. There's a lot of good pieces here. And even if Vic Fangio doesn't come, our defensive coordinator is literally taking head coaching interviews around the league because of what he was able to do with that. It's the same Vic Fangio tree. If Vic Fangio comes, it doesn't really matter. I feel like the defense is going to be what they are with or without him, because if they get Vic Fangio, it's like, yeah, it's kind of cool, but at the same time, it's like, it's just icing on the cake at this point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, so the only reason I think and look, I just said Russ Wilson's huge name, big name in the NFL the past 15 years. He's still the quarterback, and he still had the shit year that he just had, right? Like, that's going to be the biggest hurdle, I think, for Sean Payton. That any injuries, any transactions, trades, pickups that they do in the offseason. There's already word that the Bears might want to pick up Jerry Jeudy. You know what I mean? Like things like that. Things like that, right? Where it's like, do we get rid of this person? Does this person fit more the offensive scheme that Sean Payton wants with Russ Wilson? I again, like, all these things have to come into play. And even though they haven't happened yet, that's why I'm not quick to be like, you know what I mean? Will he make it a 21, 22 points a game offense? I mean, it's Sean Payton. His worst year with, like you said, with Drew Brees was 23. He just has the hurdle of how good or how bad will Russ Wilson be this season if the same weapons come back. And even if the same weapons come back, are there additions? Are there subtractions? Javonte Williams is coming back, right? Like, in the beginning of the year. It's just so many things that are dynamic in the situation that I'm not necessarily ready to be like, yep, they're going to be a top 10, 15 offense next year, but that very well could be the thing. I just think it is going to still be kind of a growing year for the Broncos.
Yeah, and I think it's important when everybody manages expectations. You made the comment about Jerry Jeudy possibly being a Bear, and I'm noticing since we started our podcast, the Bears and Broncos are intertwining a lot. Vic Fangio was the Broncos head coach. Jerry Jeudy might go there. There was a year that all the NFL players went on strike in 1987. And they called your team the Chicago Spares because it was all spare player. Sean Payton was your coach, was your quarterback.
Yeah.
For the Bears. Yep. He was so bad at quarterback. His I actually wrote his statistics down just because I thought it was really funny. And I got 5 fun facts about Sean Payton that I think you'll actually enjoy. So Sean Payton he had a 34% completion rate. He threw for 79 yards. He had 1 interception, and he had, I think, 5 sacks for a loss of like 58 yards. He had a long pass of 20 yards the whole 3 starts he had. And guess the first pick he threw to, guess who caught it? The first and only pick. Or what team it was.
Was it the Broncos?
It was the Saints.
It was the Saints. No way. Wow.
So, yeah, those that can do, teach. and those that can't teach Jim.
Teach Jim. Yeah. I loved it.
So here's the fun facts. Sean Payton. He spent the 1996 season as a quarterbacks coach at Illinois before entering the NFL. So he's got roots in Illinois. Payton also earned a bachelor's degree in communications at Eastern Illinois University. And as a quarterback, he had 10,665 passing yards, then the 3rd highest in total NCAA Division I AA history. So
nice.
Decent in college, right? Sean Payton's always been known for his offensive prowess, having scored more points and gained more yards than any other team in a coach's first 100 games in NFL history. Now, here's what's interesting about Sean Payton, though. If you look at the Hall of Fame, ProFootballHallOfFame.com, they got the NFL All Decades team from 2000 to 2010 and 2010 to 2020. And there's not one Saint on the entire list. So you got
Oh my
quarterbacks, of
God.
course, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, running backs,
Yeah.
LT, Edgerrin James, Jamal Lewis, Sean Alexander, Randy
Mhm.
Moss, Marvin Harrison, Terrell Owens, Torrey Holt, Tony Gonzalez, Antonio Gates, Walter Jones. Then you got your offensive linemen. But what I thought was interesting is Sean Payton, that stat I just said, most points than any other coach in their first 100 games.
Mhm.
He didn't really have like any all-stars. He made Drew Brees an all-star. He made people that were around Drew Brees better. There was no Torrey Holt, Marvin Harrison. You
Oh,
could say,
yeah.
oh, he had Michael Thomas,
Yeah.
but there was really not like what Sean Payton does is like a true coach. Like and I didn't even realize this about him, but I look at the NFL decades and even from 2000 to 2010, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning again were on it, and
Mhm.
you just don't see any Saints. So don't you find that a little interesting that uh, Sean Payton seemed to do so much with nothing that is like, oh, LaDainian Tom, like there's nothing like that about the Saints that you can remember really.
Yeah, I actually can believe that. One, because of the two names at quarterback. You know, Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. Both of them who won a total, I think, I believe, of 3 Super Bowls in the 2000s. Had a great duel at like passing touchdowns one year,
Yeah.
right? Like one was, I think Peyton ended up winning
Yeah, it
the
was like
most,
48 and 49.
yeah, something like that. And Peyton ended up having the most in history or something like that in a season, whatever it may be. Um,
55 with Denver.
55. Yes, yes. And then you go into the next decade and it's Peyton Manning and Tom Brady again, who win a total of what, like 4 or 5 Super Bowls combined, something like that. Because he won one with
Yeah.
Denver in 2015.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know what I mean? Like I can see why Drew Brees wasn't in there. He
But
was a good
receivers.
quarterback. But well, who did Drew Brees have at receiver?
See, that's what's interesting. Is like there's not like a Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne. Even with Tom Brady, you're like Wes Walker, Julian Edelman,
Yeah.
Randy Moss.
Yeah.
Like you can think of some guys, and I
Uh
didn't Google it. I know that
Mark
there's like Colson, Marquise
Marquise
Colson,
Colston. He had Jimmy Graham at the time, but there was,
Jimmy Graham.
again, that's why the Saints only won one Super Bowl. Like you
Yeah,
know what I mean? Like they had players, they had really really good players, but they didn't have these like just
elite.
elite tier
Yeah,
players like, you know, a Gronkowski, Antonio Gates, Gonzalez at tight end, or receivers like Randy Moss, like Marvin Harrison, all these guys, right? Like it's just they didn't have those elite guys, and Drew Brees, Hall of Fame quarterback, was not on the elite tier as Peyton Manning, Tom Brady. You know,
no.
he was that second tier where it was like, you guys are
I think
very,
he was tier.
very, very good.
I'm gonna go. Drew Brees was on tier one.
I don't think so.
I think
I
you
don't
have
think
tier
so.
one A and tier one B, but I'm not gonna throw him into tier two.
I would put, I honestly, I would put,
With Joe
uh,
Flacco, you're gonna put Drew Brees with Joe
Joe
Flacco.
Flacco's not second tier. Joe Flacco's like third tier quarterback.
Yeah, what's another tier two? Give me an example.
Another
Philip
tier two would
Rivers.
be Philip Rivers. Another tier two would be Philip Rivers. Another tier two would be Kurt Warner
Is
in
Brett
the
Favre tier two?
2000. Brett Favre's tier one in the 2000s.
But he's only got one ring like Breeze.
Yeah, but he actually broke records and stuff. You know what I mean? Most
Drew Brees
interceptions.
broke like every passing record
Did he?
while he was playing. Yeah, he had like the most pass. His stats are ridiculous. Like
Yeah, his
nobody.
stats are
He
ridiculous. You're
had
right.
like I think he had like 4 years in a row with over 5,000 passing yards or like
Jesus
something
Christ.
insane like that. No, it might have been
Okay,
4,000.
maybe he is tier one.
Breeze was phenomenal. I'm
Yeah.
telling you,
Well,
he was good.
Roethlisberger, I'd put tier one too.
Ooh, see, Roethlisberger. If you got tier one Roethlisberger, you got to have Drew because Drew Brees was no
Yeah.
doubt better than Roethlisberger.
Okay.
I
All
don't think
right. Then
that's
I'll
like
keep him tier one. I guess it's just a lack of Super Bowls for Breeze that really kind of like iffy, but also like you
yeah.
said, Brett Favre tier one. I mean, he only won 1, 2, but yeah, you're right. So fun fact, all those quarterbacks retired. So the golden era of quarterbacks is officially over after today with Tom Brady retiring.
So that's my overreaction to leave this on is that Sean Payton has never coached a team as good as the Broncos.
And mark that. Okay.
Timestamp it. Timestamp it. Oh,
Oh, that's good.
so D'Amico Ryans,
Yeah, let's move on to D'Amico Ryans.
head coach for the Houston Texans. It was official. There was talks that the D'Amico Ryans was the Broncos' #1 candidate. Like, I don't know what to believe anymore. I think that's all BS at this point. But Ryans had roots in Houston.
Sorry, you said that Ryans was the #1 candidate for the Texans?
Yeah, it came out. That was leaked that D'Amico Ryans was
Nah,
the Broncos'
I don't know about that.
I don't either, but
Yeah,
whatever.
that's what it
Ryan's
is.
is 38 years old, so he's definitely going to be a younger coach. We're kind of seeing that happen. Not as unique now as it was 10 years ago, but
Yeah,
he was a former player for the Houston Texans. It didn't end very well. It actually ended with him getting an injury and suing the Houston Texans for the field that they had
that's
and
right.
the type of turf it was. And obviously, this year we've seen the turf lawsuit arise with the NFL
Mhm.
Players Association. D'Amico Ryans was all over that before it was cool. His wife, Jamila, is from Houston.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so there's just a lot of reasons why when I saw the Texans were interested, I was like, oh, he's going. It's because you're going home, right? It's
Mhm.
like if you were let me give you a perfect example. If say thinking of the greatest Brian Urlacher, okay?
Yeah,
It's like if Brian Urlacher was a defensive coordinator for the Broncos and then he got a job interview for a head coach at the end of the season and it was either going to be the Eagles or the Bears, like where do you think he would go?
probably try to go to the Bears.
Probably try to go to the Bears, right? And
Mhm.
and that's what D'Amico Ryans is doing. So D'Amico Ryans, head coach of the Houston Texans. Congratulations to
Good
D'Amico
for him.
Ryans
Good for him.
getting a head coach, and with all the talk about black head coaches not having an equal share of the pie. It's nice to see Houston make a hire in
Yeah.
that direction. So really good stuff out of
Mhm.
Houston. I think D'Amico Ryans is going to be fantastic. I really
Yeah.
do.
Yeah,
I think he's going to be good.
and this is and the good thing is like again, it's kind of tough to go into the AFC South, especially with the emergence of Trevor Lawrence this season, right? Being as good as he is. And that's kind of like another probably not I wouldn't say it's the toughest sell, but I mean it was probably a tough sell. But the good thing is you got the #2 pick. You're probably going to try to get a quarterback. You saw the success that Salah had with the Jets, another defensive coordinator under Shanahan, right? Going into a head coaching position. Second one under the Shanahan tree, which is crazy to say, right? Like now these coaches are creating their own trees of head coaches. Who's got a head coaching position. So I think he's going to do well, like you said. The defense in Houston is pretty good, honestly. They've got a good young running back in what's his name?
Damian Pierce.
Damian Pierce. Yep. Thank you. Damian Pierce. They've got the #2 pick. They've got a lot of draft capital that is a head coach you can build on, right? It's nice and warm in Houston. You're in Texas, it's the climate's nice. You got a nice stadium. So there's a lot of good things, that you could look forward to in Houston as a coach. And again, his defensive mind, he's coming from a defense coordinator position, is going to help that young Houston team out a lot in the coming years. Do you think he will be the head coach of the Houston Texans as they when they become good again?
Yes. And this is exactly why everybody's so big on John Harbaugh is because there's certain people that no matter where they go, they succeed. All
Mm-hmm.
right. Player, coach, he could, and we feel this way about Tom Brady, right? Like he could go start his own car dealership and it would be one of the best in the
Oh yeah.
country.
Oh yeah.
D'Amico Ryans was SEC Defensive Player of the Year for his 2005 season. He was
Mm-hmm.
recognized as a unanimous first team All American. Ryans is also, if you've ever seen him on the sidelines, he's incredibly vocal and very animated. So you're going to get a lot. That's good for TV. You know,
Yeah.
I
Oh
don't
yeah.
like watching Mike McCarthy stand in the sideline with his arms crossed and looking up at the. You know, I want to see like that's why I love is. Oh, did you lose me for a second? Yeah. Oh, sorry. Can you hear me? Okay, I can't hear you. But
Yep.
D'Amico Ryan's. Oh, there you are. Uh,
Sorry, everyone.
you're all good. He's excelled at every stage to this point in his
Mhm.
career, both as a coach and as a player. I don't think that anything is going to change now that he's a head coach. You know how I feel about defensive coaches. I do think if you want to be in the playoffs, the numbers show that you need an offensive guy. There
Yeah.
are exceptions, and I think D'Amico Ryan's is one of those.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I have the same feeling. Um, because like you look at Salah and what he's done with the Jets, and Zach Wilson is they're a quarterback away, man. They really are quarterback away. Wilson isn't it. So maybe in Houston they do need a lot more pieces, obviously, right? But I think starting off with a quarterback, knowing you have the number 2 pick, knowing you have your pick at quarterback, probably is a very good way to start for a new head coach. But let me get to the comments here. Jinja talking about another possible head coaching candidate. Do you guys think Saturday ends up as the Colts coach? Kyle, do you want to take this or you want me to go first?
No.
I think so as well. I don't think he becomes the head coach for the Colts. I think, God, what's the owner? Jim Irsay
Yeah.
realized, I think he realizes that, hey, look, I know I made an emotional decision, bringing Saturday on. Saturday said it himself in his conference. Hey, I'm not a coach. We'll see if I'm good. I know football. I know who I am. I hope that I could take something away from the season as a head coach. But hey, if I don't come back and I did a shitty job, then I don't come back and I did a shitty job. The surprising thing, though, to me, is that he made the second round of interviews for the position when there are quite a bit of good candidates out there. You mentioned your defensive coordinator. I don't know his name, being one of them. So I
Evero.
just Evero, yeah. So I just don't understand. I just don't get it for Saturday. Like you said, I don't think he's going to become the head coach either.
Yeah, look, the short quick no is just I realize I'm not answering the question. I changed the question, should he be the head coach? And that was my no. Is he going
Hmm.
to be the head coach is a different question. I'm going to say it's possible because usually when people make bad decisions, uh, what they'll do is they'll double down on them.
They will. They will.
And the fact that we're not hearing anything from Indianapolis with all these coaches, like the Panthers get their guy and the Broncos get their guy, Texans get what are,
Yeah.
the Colts are looking for a guy. Look,
Yeah.
first off, I forgot about the Colts. You heard me earlier talking about all these other teams. I don't think Sean Payton's going to go to the Panthers or the
Oh shit.
Texans. I forgot the
Yeah.
Colts were looking for a guy because they're not. Because if they were, we would
Yeah.
see it on NFL Network. We would see it on the Colts are bringing in this. The Colts are traveling to Ann Arbor to talk to. We haven't
Yeah.
heard anything like that out of the Colts, and that tells
Yeah.
me that Jim Irsay is going to probably double down on his decision, and it's unfortunate for the Colts. I hope it works. I'm always rooting
Hmm.
for an underdog, a guy that's literally. It's such a cool story. Like, no coaching experience, let's go give it a whirl, and somehow it works out. It's like, wow, maybe I could do it because like I
Yeah.
always watch football and I'm like, wonder if I could coach for a day, what it would be like. You know, when they
How
miss
fun.
time, yeah, when they miss timeouts and there's false starts, and it's like all these things make you feel like you could go do it and give it a swing, but we'll never get that opportunity. Jeff Saturday did, so
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe it'll end in a total dumpster fire, but I would not be surprised that they're running it back, double downing on the just potentially one of the dumbest decisions ever. And if it works out,
Yeah.
then he'll feel like a genius. And you know to that Jim Irsay is just hoping to God that it works out, because he's like, I will be a genius if it works out, or you'll be an idiot. Like if Tom Brady came back next year and looked
Yeah.
even worse, you got to know
Mhm.
when to quit. You got to know when to hang it up. And I don't know if Jim Irsay has gotten to that point yet.
and and the thing with this, with the fact that you think he's going to double down, and the fact that I hope he doesn't, but yes, there's a very real possibility that that happens. They have a really, really high pick. They have the ability and the moves to make in order to get a, another, I say this, I say another quarterback that can change the trajectory, sorry, of their franchise.
Yeah.
And yet the head coach is such a huge decision in how that happens, in developing the quarterback, in making sure that you are, because I've went through this with Nagy and Mitch Trubisky, how you take that quarterback and how you can use his tools to make the team better,
Yeah.
right? So the fact that Saturday made the second round of interviews is just such a tough sell for me if I'm like CJ Stroud or Bryce Young. If I go into
Yeah.
the Colts organization, I'm like, Saturday's my head coach, possibly, like that's a possibility. That's a real possibility. Instead of like a guy who's been working through organizations for years and has built a reputation around the league. Like that's got to be tough to kind of go into a situation like
So,
that. And if Jim Irsay can't go outside of that like pride thing, almost that
yeah.
ego thing, and make a better, more educated hire, that's going to be a really tough position for whatever quarterback decides to come in. You know what I mean? And take on uh, um, uh, a brand new head coach possibly.
Yeah, and you're gonna have the Colts. What they're gonna have to do is Jeff Saturday is gonna have to sell. They're gonna have to
Mm-hmm.
get a really good OC and a really good quarterback coach and a really good staff put together if it's gonna
Mm-hmm.
work. Because
Yeah.
no, Jeff Saturday is the face of the franchise, but no, he's not going to teach your young quarterback how to throw the football. He's a
Mm-hmm.
center. So I mean, we've seen it before. Like D'Amico Ryans wasn't a quarterback, and
Yeah.
he's going to go be with the Texans, and the Texans are going to
Yeah.
draft their guy, probably CJ Stroud. And then you have the Bears at number 1 and the Cardinals at number 3. Both of
Mm-hmm.
those teams don't need a quarterback. They're going to get defensive tackles and edge rushers, and then the Colts pick Bryce Young. So
Mm-hmm.
I do see Bryce Young being the next quarterback for the Colts, and I don't think it's necessarily going to be Jeff Saturday to do it, but is he going to be able to get a good staff to surround him? Because like if you're an assistant coach and you're trying to work your way up, you really want to get on Kyle Shanahan's staff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Look at the teams that get elevated from practice coach, okay, training staff coach, okay, now I'm a positional coach, now I'm an offensive or defensive coordinator, now
Coordinator
I'm a head coach.
position.
The teams that win get to do that. The teams
Yeah.
that lose don't get to do that. So it's
Yeah.
going to be hard to sell, but they're going to need to bring in a lot of talent, kind of like Deion Sanders is doing for the Colorado Buffaloes right
Yeah.
now. If you see, he brought in Mike Zimmer. He brought in all of these, just like it's like, how did he get all these people in there? But I don't know.
You
See,
move them up.
that's
Yeah.
Deion Sanders. Deion
Yeah.
Sanders can do that. Can Jeff
Yeah.
Saturday? I don't
Yeah.
know. I honestly I don't. I don't
Yeah.
think he can really. But
And
Bryce
let's
Young, they might want to coach Bryce Young. That's all I'll say.
yeah, yeah. Let's get to the comments here. Ginger saying, I was surprised at how fast Frank Reich was picked up. He was picked up by the Panthers. The
Yeah,
Panthers picked him up. I'm surprised at that too. Because
I'm not.
man, he made some pretty bad decisions.
He's a
And
really good coach, though. He will be
he
successful.
okay, you think he'll be successful in Carolina?
Yeah, I think it'll be wildly successful. I think the Colts made a mistake. I mean, especially to go off what we just talked about. You're going to go with Jeff Saturday over Frank Reich. You're high on pot news. Like, no way.
Yeah, and this is Ginger He's like, Rick, your head coach used to be our defensive coordinator, and the Broncos were a bit worse than us this year. We all stunk. The Colts get the brunt of the shots, though. This is my inner fan speaking. You're right, and it sucks. It sucks. I get it. Like, we are taking mad shots at the Colts right now.
And not
But it's
trying
just,
to.
yeah, no, and I think, and he asked a question here: do you think it's an ownership issue? That's what I think might be the issue. That's what the issue's been for the Bears the last few years. You know what I mean? Like, it has been a long time where the McCaskies have been the issue for the Bears, where they can't move on. They don't want to pay these guys. They don't want a big name, coach, team, whatever. That to me, the Colts right now are going through that same issue. But also, I think the whole Andrew Luck thing was like, oh shit. It was like a quick, like, what are we doing? It was like a fire and everybody's running around with their heads chopped off, right? Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Let's bring in Phillip Rivers. Let's bring in all these other quarterbacks to try to patch the quarterback problem up. And now we fired Frank Reich. And now we brought in Jeff Saturday and he's making the second round of interviews. Our star running back got hurt. Our line isn't as good as it used to be last year. Like, all these things are huge issues, but I just don't think, like you asked, Ginger. I do think it's an ownership issue with Jim Irsay and just whatever's going on with the Colts right now. But you're right. We definitely need to take more shots at the Bears, which, I mean, my Twitter says it all. So,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. But I mean, do you think it's the ownership issue, Kyle?
Yeah, I was gonna say when Peyton, they asked him, "Hey, what's the most important thing that you're looking for in these locations that you're getting offered head coaching jobs?" So all those teams, the Colts included, probably. He
Mm-hmm.
said, "Ownership, quarterback. Those are the two things that I need." And not, I don't need them to be great. I need them to be fixable. So you know that was what really important to Sean Payton. So you look at the Denver Broncos, right? This is a great example. They're
Mm-hmm.
able to pull in Sean Payton. Payton going on Twitter was like, I was impressed, extremely impressed with kind of Lisa Rice and the Denver Broncos ownership group and their professionalism. And that's ultimately why he decided to come to Denver. If you want to, no.
Come
And
on, come
he got
on.
paid 17 to 20 million dollars. It's not that much to him. He would have got that anywhere. Like, you don't need to have $80 billion to pay somebody 17 mil a year. That's not even as much
I
as
think
Bill
so.
Belichick makes.
I think so.
Bill
Huh?
Belichick makes more than that.
Yeah, but he's
Apparently
proven.
got,
And Robert Kraft is rich too.
I mean, I think if he went to Carolina, Texans, or any of these other spots, they would have had to pay him 17 to 20 million a year. That was just kind of the
I
standard for him.
I think maybe the Waltons and the Denver Broncos were the only team that were able to pay him that much, that he commanded that much. Cause I think he had a really good deal as far as like announcing games and being an analyst on Fox or wherever the fuck he was. Like, they pay money. I mean, you seeing what they're gonna pay Tom Brady. Fox is
Yeah.
gonna pay Tom Brady for the
That's what I'm
next
saying.
decade.
He could have made that
So,
much money, more money at Fox.
well, what I'm
Amazon wanted
yeah,
him in the
yeah.
booth. Amazon wanted
Oh,
to pay
that's
him to be in the booth.
true.
Like
That's true.
he's not chasing money. And he actually used an example about this in this interview. He said, "You can follow people and players that chased money and became irrelevant. It's not about the money." And I know that it's like, oh yeah, the Waltons money. I really think he's being honest, and he's saying, like, I'm not going to go to Carolina for 20 million a year and disappear and not be on prime time and be forgotten about. I want to go somewhere. And then he talked about Denver and the rich history of being a part of that. Maybe get a statue next to Elway, Pat Bolin, and Manning. Like, it's a place that people want to go, but it starts with ownership. Like, how are the Colts, if they have an ownership problem, going to bring in anyone special like that? Like, you
Mhm.
have to have your, like, wow factor. Like, man, that's what Pat Bolin had, and that's why we were always a good team, because we had
Mhm.
Pat Bolin. If you look around the league, everybody that has serious ownership problems, the Commanders, you got just dysfunction, because it starts at the top and it all trickles down, and it's
Yeah.
all dysfunctional, and it rarely ever works. And I think if you are having a roster like the Colts have, where it seems like great O-line, good, top 3 running back in the league. Defense, not terrible, right? Not a terrible defense. Like, we went into the offseason and we said we picked the Colts to win the division. We said they're going to win the division. And you were pretty high on Matt Ryan. I was low on him because I said it reminded me of Joe Flacco coming to Denver. But I still thought, despite Joe Flacco, the Colts were clearly the best team in the AFC South. So the fact that they put that performance on the field, I do think it starts with the owners, and I think there's an ownership problem.
For sure. And even Ginger says here, our owner is constantly popping pills and handing out $100 bills. He's a mess. So, I mean, yeah, there you go. It's, we have the same thing here with ownership issues. So we agree, Ginger, with you as well. Oh, we got Steve in the chat. Steve, what's up, man? Cheers.
What up, Steve?
Welcome back. He said, I'm 80% on Peyton. He got to the Super Bowl early in his career with Breeze, and they continue to come up short in the playoffs every year after. That's a good point with Sean Payton. Yes, and that's what I would point to. The roster did eventually get kind of bad. But what I will say, too, is like, dude, it's a brand new environment. It's a brand new team. It's a brand new opportunity to rekindle that success with another team. You see it all the time. Look at what happened with the Rams when Sean McVay got there, right? And yeah, they got
49ers with
49ers with
Jim
him, Shanahan or Jim. Wait, Jim Harbaugh. Yeah,
Jim.
Right. Sorry, John is Ravens.
Yeah, but that franchise was in the dumps when he
got there. You see it all the time. I mean, and to a very, very lesser extent, I cannot exaggerate the very. Nagy and Pace, when they came in 2017 and 18, they were a really good fucking team, minus the offense, but they were a really good team in that year. So you can do these things where you take a coach, put them in a new setting, and all of a sudden it's a success. Andy Reid, right, in Kansas City, all these things. So Steve, 80% on Payton, but he does make a good point with that stuff. Now, let's move on to our final segment. And Kyle's kind of mentioning a couple things here. We're calling it Groundhog Day. And
yes!
If you guys remember the Groundhog Day movie, it's just a guy who keeps reliving his day over and over and over. It's a great movie. So what we're going to do here with Groundhog Day is revisit some predictions Kyle and I made as individuals, and I've got a few that we did together that we were either very wrong on or right on. Really, just we either hit it on the head or we were so far out to lunch that we just were morons. So, how do we want to do this, Kyle? What did you want to start? Because I feel like you've got the most.
I got a couple. So here, I'll start with this.
He's gonna fucking burn my ass. Watch.
No, I'm not. I'm gonna start off with one that we both agreed on, and it is the Carolina Panthers and Baker Mayfield.
Might make a run for second in the division. I think the Bucs have it.
I hope they do. I want Baker to take me to the playoffs.
Yeah, I want Baker to do well. And I think this is just well-wishing, kind of like with the Bears, with Baker. But I would really like to see him get in the wild card and have the fucking Browns just completely miss the playoffs.
I can just see it right now, though. Like, it's a Sunday 1:00 game, and they're, like, down 10-24.
Yeah.
And Baker's, like, on the sideline, like, looking at
his iPad, and you just flip the TV off and go, yeah, the Panthers.
If you haven't seen it, go on YouTube because Kyle put that short up and it is hilarious.
Yeah, there was a moment where they're down 26-10 and Baker staring at his iPad. And it was definitely a game that you would have flipped the channel on. So we were right about Baker, but we were honest about that when we said we want Baker to go to you said it the best. You said I think it's like the Bears thing, it's like wishful thinking. And we wanted Baker to really rub it into the face. He didn't do it as a Panther. What we couldn't have predicted is that he would have had a moment later to do it with The Rams.
And what a moment that was, though, right? Like
Which
that was
one?
like
Which one? You know, when he beat the Broncos on Christmas by 50, or
oh, that's right. No, I was referring more to the
comeback?
Thursday night football game, the comeback, where he practiced with the team maybe like for practice and a half, came into that game on Thursday night and was able to march them down the field with a really great pass to who was it? Who's the receiver that caught it? God, I can't remember.
Van Joy?
Van Jefferson. That's who it
Yeah.
was on the game-winning drive. So yeah, I mean, look, and it's true. Kyle was right. We were just like, yeah, we're gonna flip through and see the Panthers and Baker Mayfield just being sad, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm unfortunate on that one.
All right, so I'm gonna start off one with Kyle. Kyle said that was absolutely correct. Unfortunately, I don't have any like screen recordings of these, just because I was kind of taking notes. But Kyle, and this was a twofer pretty much that he got right. Not only did Kyle predict that the Patriots are going to come third in the division in the AFC East, but he also predicted their record. He said that the Patriots are going to go 8-9, and this was 2 weeks before the start of the season. And the Patriots, what did the Patriots end up doing? They came third in the division, and their record was 8-9. So let's give it up for Kyle on that prediction.
We're not doing that. We're not doing that.
Oh, don't worry, I'm gonna get some wrong ones on you.
Oh yeah.
I gotta give you your flowers now. So Kyle, you go ahead.
Okay, here we go. Let's see what this one is. I got a title.
Like it's a Sunday 1 o'clock.
Oh yeah, we did that one already.
Losing record.
I like
Daniel Jones is over. His career's over.
Well, if anybody could turn it around, the guy that turned Josh Allen into Josh Allen is now their head coach. Dable. So we'll see what he can do because you got to remember, they've had the worst offensive line in the NFL for like all of Daniel Jones. Like it's hard to evaluate a quarterback when he doesn't have time to throw the ball. And
didn't Patrick Mahomes have like a terrible offensive line for a while?
I mean, it wasn't.
We kind of go on the side tangent there, but there's us talking about Daniel Jones and talking about the potential that Dabble would have been able to turn around this guy, a guy that turned around Josh Allen's career. And I think he did, right? What did you say? Or do you still believe kind of what you said in the beginning? This is his last year as a starter.
So, man, it's tough. What I would say is I think he has another year in New York. I think he has another year in New York as a starter. Did he turn it around? He had a really good season as like a pseudo quarterback, mostly rushing the ball, mostly running it, using his legs. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that because that's what really Justin Fields was all last year, right? Like, was he pretty decent at throwing the ball? Absolutely. He showed a lot of flashes, but I mean, he was getting a lot of shit done with his legs. And that's kind of what mattered. That's what made him really introduced to the league and made him really made the Bears games actually watchable. So Daniel Jones, I think, has earned himself another year as a starter in New York. I don't know what his contract status is after this season. But either way, I think he's earned himself another starting job. With the offensive line thing, that is very, very good point. And then Dable was able to use his tools that Jones had. And like you said, turned it around because what did the Giants do? The Giants ended up being a pretty good team, had a really good record. You know, they stumbled in the middle of the season, but they were still able to make the playoffs and such. So good prediction for Kyle on that one. And I didn't really believe it at the time either. But I don't think it has fully become a franchise quarterback. Yeah. But I think you hit it on the head with like, if anybody's going to do it, it's Dable. And that's what Dable did this year. He
definitely did a solid job. And then I feel like this year will be like, as long as he's improving, then they're not going to turn away from him. Like, why start all over? So, and I know we have a couple, I think, we have a couple fans of Daniel Jones, and at least on our page that I've noticed have been like pretty high on Daniel Jones. So we'll see what he does next year. But yeah,
sure.
you're right. He's got to earn it.
Yeah, absolutely. Just real quick, Jen, just saying this is an awesome segment. Yeah, this really is, because we just kind of give each other shit for things we've said. And Kyle, don't worry, Kyle's got a couple in the chamber right now that he's gonna put to my fucking noggin.
No.
No, I think but I think it's fun though. Like it's funny to kind of like go back, because I was listening to our entire division predictions episode, and I was just like, God, we either sound really smart or we sound really dumb, obviously, but this was prior to the entire season. So the next one I'll go with, and this is actually one on me that I did really well, so good for me.
Nice. Steelers
is Steelers won. You're correct. They had 9 wins, so it's kind of like winning the division. No, I'm just kidding. I predicted that the Chiefs would have 28 points per game. They ended the season 28.7 points per game throughout the entire regular season. So give it up for me. Give it up for me.
This hurts.
This hurts. And that was when we had a discussion too about defenses and offenses. Because you said that if a defense, God, you said something about a defense and an offense. You're like, well, who has the best offense? And I'm like, yeah, probably the Chiefs between the Broncos. And you're like, well, who has the best defense? And I'm like, well, the Broncos will probably have the better defense. And you're like, but don't you think that a defense giving up the least amount of points is going to be the better overall team than a team with a better offense?
We could have been if we scored more than, we're the worst team offensively.
And that's what I mean, like, because there are seasons like this. And again, it's nothing that you can predict, but the Broncos demonstrated that perfectly, is that you can give up very, very little points. And I think they gave up 16. They only gave up 21 points per game, something like that.
It's super inflated from that 50-point Christmas game. But
that
was like, we were like number 1, and then that happened, and it was like dropped to 21. It was like, okay.
Yeah. And then it dropped to number 12 overall. But that's not to say, and that's just one singular stat, which is points per game. That's not taking into consideration the entire defense. But it made a difference in that argument, where it's like, actually, this can happen, right? Where the defense is so good, but the offense plays so poorly that it just, like, the overall team isn't very good. Yeah. But I predicted the Chiefs for 28 points per game.
And you predicted them to be the number 1 team in the AFC West, which came true.
Did I say AFC West?
Yeah.
AFC West. I think you meant AFC. Sorry.
Excuse me. Yeah, because you were like, Patrick Mahomes is still Patrick Mahomes, and you were right on about all that.
Yeah, and now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give myself one that really makes me look stupid. Is that I said the Chargers would be dead last in the AFC West this year.
Oh,
so that one was a bad pick. They were second. They made the wild card. So Race, if you're listening, I apologize. The Chargers are good. Kyle, what you got next?
You froze for a second. Sorry.
Oh,
here we go. I was trying to get it ready.
Let's go.
They're not gonna just lose every
one of these wins. They're gonna lose. A few of these wins they're gonna lose.
I don't think they're gonna lose to the Jets here.
Here, hold on.
And then
no.
Well, that's what I got. So
here it is.
The Lions, absolutely.
Right here.
Minnesota's got a good home field advantage.
Yeah,
it's right.
I know what this one is.
Bears week 5 at Chicago. Yeah. Oh, no, I'm sorry. They're in Minnesota.
Mother effer.
Sorry.
Here it is.
Talked about this.
But their schedule is so
This is what
This is Rick on the Bears.
Get closer to week 1. The
hope
has arisen.
What do you want me to do? You want me not to be hopeful for the Bears?
I want you to be honest.
I am honest.
Dude, fans.
I looked at their schedule yesterday or the other day. It's pretty.
So Rick had the Bears going. What was it? 11
and 6.
11 and 6. Give it up to Rick.
I was kind of right.
He was like, all offseason, it's like, it's a rebuilding year. As long as Justin Fields gets better, it was like, yeah. And then the day of, he comes on, he's like, yeah, I was talking to Jack, his buddy in Chicago. And he's like, Bears are going 11 and 6.
Oh my God.
I tried to plead with him. I tried to figure out what happened. And then I remembered that I do this every year. It was like I thought Drew Lock, he finished one of the years that he took over and finished 4-1. We got Melvin Gordon. There was all this hype, and I was like, we're gonna go to the playoffs. And what happened? Drew Lock's not the guy. I know what you went through, but it's too funny not to replay it. You're 12-6 prediction. What do you 12-5, 11-6? What do you think about it now? Is it funny?
So it's hilarious, but to be fair, the Commanders, that was a tough game. That was a tough Thursday night game. That was
awful.
Disgusting. It was a terrible game. The Bears could have won that several times, but they just sucked. Also, they got rid of Roquan Smith, which was a huge part of the defense. And other than that, they would have been a fucking offensive powerhouse, probably in the Super Bowl right now.
I love you.
Other than that, if those two things didn't happen, we would be in the Super Bowl. No, it's hilarious, dude. The Giants were good. They're a lot. Obviously, again, the rebuilding season thing was huge for the Bears.
Yeah,
and the fact that I said 11 wins, it's just so funny. But hey,
you got your guy.
We got our guy. That's all that matters.
Here's the one I was trying to. Right here.
Yeah.
I want you to be honest. Hold on. So it's me in the middle of a conversation with you, talking about the Minnesota Vikings.
I think I did have that as a loss. Week 2, Green Bay loss. I already got them losing twice.
So this is the Bears. He goes through all of the Bears games, and then he realizes as he's doing it, he's like, "Yeah, I got them losing too." But then after he loses to the Packers twice, they win all of their games. You're like, "That's a win. That's a win. That's a win. That's a win."
That's right.
And then I have my comments on this division right here.
No, the Green Bay Packers are getting first. Aaron Rodgers is going to Aaron Rodgers. He is. You can't look. Kirk Cousins had a great year last year. Don't get me wrong, and he has Justin Jefferson, and you've got Dalvin Cook. Vikings are a rough bet, in my opinion. They are a rough.
I'm not going to hold it against you.
Oh, why not? Come on.
Because
your body.
I know what it's. I know what it's like when you get close to the season and you're like.
And we've done this.
Vikings #1 in the NFC North was the preseason prediction. Came true.
Yep.
And
I got that right.
There was that was one that I nailed. And obviously, I think you had what you were Packers #1, and you weren't letting go of that because of Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Rightfully so, right? We've never seen Aaron Rodgers not finish #1, but that was definitely one that was funny because we were still on the Bears thing. And then while you're on this Bears tangent, I tell you that I have the Vikings finishing #1, and I felt like you were about to leave the studio.
Oh man, well, how wrong I was for that one. Kirk Cousins had another stellar season, but they also finished with a negative point differential as a 13-4 team, which is ridiculous. Still a rough bet because, and this is going to be funny because at the end of this episode, we actually gave our Super Bowl predictions. Kyle had the Vikings in the Super Bowl or the Rams. He said the Rams or the Vikings were going to the Super Bowl. And I said the Bills and the Rams were going to the Super Bowl. Nowhere near what any of us predicted. So we were both wrong on that Super Bowl prediction.
The Rams surprised a lot of people. And I think the mainstream media indoctrinated me because I heard it so many times that the Rams are going to the Super Bowl. It's hard to find originality. But I did find some originality in this one.
Sleep on Jalen Hurts. I don't know what it is about him.
But I don't think they've got enough to beat the Cowboys and Dak Prescott. Mike McCarthy's an idiot. Don't get me wrong. He's a fucking idiot. And the Cowboys are going to Cowboy just like the Chargers.
I'll take Cowboys #2 over Commanders. I'll meet you in the middle. But there's no way in hell that the Eagles aren't winning this division.
It was close. It was close.
I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know. I don't trust
We're
the
here.
Eagles.
I'm so happy we're here.
I don't trust the Eagles. I've never trusted the Eagles ever.
Well, do it.
Do it. They made the playoffs last year and they got better.
So before that, real quick, because it was so funny. Kyle had the Commanders in second above the Cowboys, and I was like, "There's no fucking way." And then that's when he said he changed it. I was about to go in on him too on that pick,
Yeah.
and then he's like, "Okay, I'll meet you in the middle. Commanders third, Broncos second, or Cowboys second." I was like, "Oh, thank God!" But yes, that one was fucking hilarious because I'm like, I don't think Jalen Hurts makes the next step, and then throughout the entire regular season, you and I are like, dude, MVP candidate. He took the next step. He's a leader.
That is the out of everything that we did on the entire podcast, that is the one I'm most proud of, because that was not like if the Rams were in the Super Bowl, right? We were all like Rams, or even if Buffalo made it, it would have been like, yeah. But I
Yeah.
feel like that one was like that one and the Vikings one. And the coolest one, I would say, is that you and I discussed the AFC AFC North. And we got into it a little bit about the Bengals.
Yeah.
Fluke, was it real?
Yeah.
By the way, I predicted the Broncos to win the AFC West. So let's just put that out there. Okay. And I'm not trying to make all these like you were wrong moments. I'm really not. But they're the ones that are the funnest to talk about.
They are.
But we talked about the Bengals, and I was like, oh, the Bengals are going to get better because, people sleep on the Bengals because they were bad for all of our lifetime. And then you start talking about, what about the team? What about the Panthers? What happened the year after the Panthers made it? So you start bringing up some fluke examples, but they did lose Luke Kuechly. This is one of those, you ever get mad at somebody and you're taking a shower and you're like, all the comebacks you should have said.
Yeah.
That was me listening to this podcast. I was like, why didn't I mention Luke Kuechly? Why didn't I mention? Yeah.
Same.
So the Bengals, they were right, but that wasn't the cool part. The cool part was that I predicted the wins and losses for all four teams.
Mm-hmm.
And the most I was off was for two teams. I was within 2 games, and I nailed the Cleveland Browns record to the T at 7 wins. So that was the closest division, I think, of perfection for all of it. Because I didn't have the Giants making the playoffs, and the Broncos I was way off. And the NFC North I was pretty damn good on too. I had the Bears finishing last, Detroit. I even said Detroit's going to play Green Bay in a game late in the season. That's going to be really important. It's going to matter for that number 2 spot. And that happened, and the Vikings won the conference. So those are like the 2 big highlights. But yeah, the Broncos making the Super Bowl or going deep in the playoffs, that was very, very bad of me. But what do you think about the AFC North?
The AFC North was probably my boldest take, I will say.
Oh, the Steelers! I forgot.
Steelers
laughed at him in the chat. He picked the Steelers to win the division.
Here's the thing. This season was absolutely insane that any of our predictions could have absolutely happened. Because as you look back on this season, you're like, wow, this is actually crazy. Like all the things, like so many things went right. The Falcons were randomly good for a period there. The Bucks were nowhere near NFC South champions at like week 12 or week 13. We're like, wow, the Bucks kind of suck here. The Steelers eventually went from Mitch to Kenny Pickett and were looking kind of decent. And not only that, they looked like garbage towards the beginning of the season and still finished with a winning record under Mike Tomlin. So all these things culminating, the Rams not winning the West, the 49ers being the top team, the Seattle Seahawks being the number 2 in the West, Cardinals being third and firing Kingsbury at the end of the season. Like all this shit during the 2022 season was ridiculous. And the one thing I absolutely regret was Kyle said it. If the Bears at week 6 are 3-3, I will give you a blowjob. They were 2-4. They were 2-4 by week 6. I could have gotten a blowjob from Kyle.
If they go 3-3 by week 6, I will personally give you a blowjob.
He said,
and I
will
hope it happens.
And they lost to the Washington Commanders week 6 in that garbage fucking Thursday night game.
It reminds me
this close. I would have recorded it, put it on Pornhub for content. We would have gotten so many viewers. Oh,
you just smacking me. How many games did the Bears win? 3-3.
That's right, bitch.
It reminds me of 8 Crazy Nights when he has the jockstrap in his mouth. He's like, why are you eating that?
We would have been right here in my office, Kyle, in a full Bears uniform, sucking me off, bro. That would have been the best content. Take it, bitch. No, those were hilarious. We also had the Colts winning the AFC South, which we just talked about. I had Matt Ryan's career being revived with the Colts, so that was ridiculous. You
Not
also
the
had
only
the Viking.
One, though. You weren't by yourself with that take.
No, I think you disagreed, but you're like, maybe, but you didn't necessarily say it with me. I don't think a lot of people would have disagreed. That's what you mentioned. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would have agreed if it didn't already happen to me personally. Why did that rhyme? Because when Joe Flacco came over from the Ravens, it was like everyone freaked out. And then when the Matt Ryan thing happened, I was like, this seems oddly familiar.
Yeah.
And I know how this story ends. And I feel like that's the only player, the Matt Ryan was the only player that honestly like resembled the Joe Flacco thing for me. But I wasn't totally disagreeing with you. I was just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know,
it seems
man.
rough. It seems rough.
Yeah.
But yeah, that one we got wrong. The Giants being last in the division, we got wrong. And then I had what else? Steelers winning the North. Obviously, that was correct. You had the Vikings beating the Eagles in week 2. That was a blowout. Blowout.
You know what's weird is that I had the Eagles winning a lot of games. It said 14 games. And then I kind of contradicted myself because I was like, well, I think the Detroit Lions are going to beat the Eagles week 1. It's going to be a huge upset. And what was it, 48-45 or something insane like that?
Yeah.
And then week 2, I was like, well, I got stuck between my picks because you're like, yeah, you think the Vikings are good? I'm like, yeah, they'll beat the Eagles. And it's like, what am I doing? Because I have the Eagles being really good. So instead of just being like, hey, I got both these teams being good, but I don't know who's going to win. I was like trying to be, super confident, and I screwed myself because I got stuck,
It was so tough, dude, because like so many things happened during the offseason, the draft, all that, where we were just like, damn, these teams can be good, but who's going to be the better team at the end of the day, right? So it was a little difficult.
And the NFC West was by far the one where we all just like the Rams were last. The Seahawks were supposed to be the worst team, and they made the playoffs. The Niners with Brock Purdy. This is a snapshot of how the NFL is changing so much week to week. Like, you go into the offseason, you're like, look, there was some divisions where we were like, look, I don't know. Okay. The NFC West was not one of those.
No.
We were like, we know who the Cardinals are. They choked in the playoffs. They'll get it together. Kingsbury's going to, hold them together. A total dumpster fire. And then we're like, Geno Smith. We're literally laughing. We're like, Geno Smith. Could you imagine having a quarterback competition with Drew Lock and Geno Smith? And they named Geno Smith the starter. It's almost like sending out a memo to Seattle fans that we don't care what happens this year. And Geno Smith is a candidate for comeback player of the year and makes it to the playoffs. And then Brock Purdy, a name that we didn't even utter the syllables of until late in the season, is the next Tom Brady, maybe. I mean, it was just what a unpredictable sport that we love,
And I mean, the biggest one too was we both had the Rams in the Super Bowl, and the Rams sucked. That was probably the biggest. Actually, no, you had the Vikings or the Rams. So we both had the Rams, but we both we both had the Bills, which that one wasn't as crazy because they did lose in the divisional round. So that one wasn't as crazy, but it's like some things you get right and some things you get completely wrong. So That's why we wanted to do this segment. We thought it was going to be so fun for you guys to hear our bullshit. And let me get to the comments here because there are some good ones. Steve saying, I think players from the Rams and Vikes are going to the Super Bowl. Pretty sure they got box room seating for it.
They're going to be in the booth.
Yeah, and then Steve says, oh my God, absolutely crazy that his name is Kyle. And in South Park, Kyle makes a bet with Cartman that he'll give him a BJ. He does. And we also got Bill in the chat. Bill, welcome. He's late, but
what up, Bill? We were talking about your Giants.
We were talking about your Giants and how we were very wrong about them in the preseason. He also said, I'm assuming the Sean Payton victory lap has already occurred. Oh, it did. It absolutely did. You should have seen Kyle.
I've been back in this chair like 5 times.
Yeah. Kyle is already ready to name everything Sean Payton, ready to give him a statue, ready to do this or do that.
Yeah, I did mention a statue.
So he's ready to go. But Bill, definitely catch the beginning of this episode. The first 20 to 21 or 22 minutes was about Tom Brady retiring. So if you want, you want to talk about, if you want to hear that, definitely take a listen. And then we talk about Sean Payton. But Kyle, any other Groundhog Day predictions that you want to get to before we get out of here?
That's all I got. I'm just really excited. Oh, let me ask you one more thing. I got to put the chives on top here.
Oh, chives.
Who is next year's Seattle Seahawks?
Next year's Seattle Seahawks. That's a very, very good question. Let me looky-loo here.
You got it. You're thinking comeback player of the year, a team that there's like no expectations for.
No expectations for.
They just kind of show up, and it's like, whoa, they're really good.
So you're saying a team that one has no expectations, and two makes will make the playoffs in a sense?
Yeah, kind of like a team that is like the laughing stock of the league, and then it's like the joke's on us.
Ooh, I'm trying to see. I'm looking through all the teams right now. You know what? I'm gonna go with the Colts. I think the Colts. This is just us in preseason. I think the Colts have a really good team, and they are the quarterback away. And I think they're going to make a trade to get themselves in the realm of either the Bears or the Cardinals, who already have a quarterback, to try to get a CJ Stroud or Bryce Young, or even a Levis. I forget his first name, Will Levis, one of these guys. I think they're going to make a move for a quarterback, throw him out in the wild to start off the season and make the playoffs, because they're going to have Jonathan Taylor back. Shaq Leonard's going to be back. But it also depends on the coach. God, that's the thing. That's the thing that's holding me back. I think it's the coach. If not the Colts, though, can I pick another one, or do you actually you go first with yours, and then if it's not mine, then I'll say mine. But I got the Colts for now. Go ahead.
All right, so whoever it is, it has to be a team that is like seriously made fun of, like the way we made fun of Seattle for going with Geno. It's got to be a quarterback that'll be a candidate for comeback player of the year.
Okay.
It's got to be a team that was predicted to be awful. This is going to sound really homer, but this is all sounding really familiar.
The Broncos.
I think Russell Wilson wins comeback player of the year. The Broncos are a wild card.
I fucking knew it. I knew it, you son of a bitch. I knew it. I fucking knew it. I knew he was going to go this way, although I didn't really know until he was talking about it. But they had so many expectations, though.
They did. But now they're the laughing stock of the league, and there will be none.
Yeah, good point. Oh, that's right, because they have to be the laughing stock of the league this offseason or this past year going into next year. Yeah, I think the Colts definitely fall in that realm, especially with the fact that Saturday was a head coach. I like the Colts.
Bryce Young will be their quarterback.
Yeah, I think they go with one of them. Absolutely, for sure. The other one I had in mind was, and maybe it doesn't necessarily fit the criteria, but the Panthers.
That fits the criteria.
but they're not. I don't think because they put up a really good effort in the South towards the end of the season, and it really came down to a couple games and a couple of like scenarios for them.
They fired their coach mid-season. Like, no one's taking the Panthers seriously. Nobody's going to be like, watch out for the Panthers. So, like, I think it's a great pick. Like, if you, I bet if you went to DraftKings and you looked at early odds to make the playoffs, the Panthers would be like, you'd win good money on that if you thought Panthers make the playoffs. So you think Packers or the Panthers with Matt Rule or
Frank Reich.
Thank you. I don't know where that name even came from. Frank Reich.
He was the coach of the Panthers.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay, that's so weird that things are just in there.
That just happens. Yeah.
Yeah. You think Frank Reich gets the job done in Carolina? I like that. I think it's a great pick.
Yeah, and as much as I didn't like what Frank Reich did with the Colts early in the seat last year, which I think kind of led him to get fired, which a lot of us were like, Sam Ehlinger over Matt Ryan, are you sure? I think, like you said, and like Sean Payton with the Broncos, a lot of these coaches with new teams, fresh start, new team, their pick at quarterback, their pick at this, their pick at a coaching squad. I think that's a very real possibility. The Colts and the Panthers, I think, are going to be two teams next year that we laughed at this year and this entire offseason, depending on the draft. But going into next year, where we're going to be like, holy shit, where'd they come from? Like you said, the Seahawks, the 49ers to an extent, and even the Jaguars. The Jaguars were looked at pretty badly. Then they got Doug Peterson, but I don't think either of us expected you. I think you had the Jaguars last, and so did I. We both had the Jaguars dead last in the AFC South. And look what Doug Peterson was able to do with Trevor Lawrence, right? So I think the Panthers and the Colts, I'm going to go Colts over Panthers, but I think those two teams are very, very, I guess, capable of doing that next year.
Yeah, and the draft pick thing, the Texans have 11 picks in the draft, so I'm not sure what does Bill mean about do they have any picks? They not only do they have 11, but they're going to be picking the quarterback at number 2 that they want. And then next year they have 9 picks and they have 2 first overalls. So I mean, they're in good shape in the draft.
I think they're in good shape.
And I'll end it with this. I made that list of quarterbacks that are tier 1. And what did we say? We were like, look at that. There are more tier 1 quarterbacks than bad quarterbacks. Like there's a couple spots where you're like, Daniel Jones, is he the guy? There's a couple spots like that. But here's what I think. I think we're about to go into unprecedented territory in the NFL where in about 5 years, every team will be good.
Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be, I think we're getting closer and closer, but I think the margin of how many bad teams there are, I think it's going to get really small. And I think we're getting closer to an NFL league that no matter who you play, it's already said any given Sunday. It's already said any given Sunday. But I do think it's going to ring more true because you're going to have teams about 31 out of 32, maybe 30 out of 32 that are really good. So it's going to get really interesting, I think.
That would be an NFL fan's dream. That would be our dream right there, to just see great competitive football week in, week out. Let's get to a couple comments here before we skedaddle up out of here. Steve said, I think if not for Purdy's success, we see Brady in San Francisco make a 1 or 2 year deal. He wanted to play for his childhood team for sure. Hey, possibility. Again, possibility. Bill said, with Saturday at coach, meaning the Colts for next year.
Yeah,
hey man, I hope we'll see. This is like, if you talk to Jinja, he was like, what's up with all these shots at the Colts, right? Like, it's just the thing was with Saturday, like whether or not this is the hire that they go with, it's still kind of up in the air for me. But I think the Colts are a good candidate, depending on the head coach. And Jinja's liking my pick. He's like, hell yeah, Rick. I hope you're right. And
I hope so too. I hope the Colts are great. I hope the Colts and the Giants are one of the most dangerous teams next year. And I hope the Bears do really great and finish second in the NFC North. And I hope the Broncos make it to the Super Bowl.
Next year's Super Bowl right now, I'm going Cardinals, Jaguars.
Wow.
I'm just fucking kidding. Groundhog Day, bitches.
Jags are like a sneaky.
Hey,
Super
they might
Bowl
be a
pick.
sneaky team. They might be a sneaky team.
They might be Cleveland or Cincinnati year 2 next year.
Hey, we'll see. We'll see. But all right. Thank you guys to everyone who joined us in the comments today. Jinja, we had Steve, we had Bill coming in late. Go and definitely take a listen to earlier in the episode. We got Woody right there doing his Woody things, looking like a cute ass dog. But definitely go take a listen to earlier in the episode. I'm going to post the episode with the thumbnail and everything for sure for all you guys to kind of listen to. If you want to follow me on Twitter, follow me at And Now Rick. Go follow me on Twitter, and I will make sure that everyone knows how bad the Bears are doing. And you can follow the Star 6 Media page at _Star6 Media on Twitter. Kyle, where can they find you on Twitter?
You can find me at FTBLYPODCAST, only football podcast, to see all of my retweets and good old Twitter stuff. Speaking of Twitter stuff, Sean Payton changed his bio. His picture in the background is a Broncos helmet. And
hey,
I mean, nowadays, is it official until Sean Payton changes his background? No, it's not official.
No, it's not official.
Oh, and I wanted to apologize because on this podcast, I said Vic Fangio is the new defensive coordinator for the Miami Dolphins. Well, anytime the NFL reports something, we just assume it's like extremely true. And it wasn't true. There's no way for us to know about it. I'm not apologizing for saying it. I'm apologizing that it was wrong. And we will see where he goes. That's something really cool to follow. But follow me on Twitter to get the Vic Fangio updates.
For sure, for sure. And you can follow us to get other updates at Star 6 Media and all the other platforms like Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, and Facebook. You can also listen to all of these podcast episodes on Apple, on Spotify, Google Podcasts, all the podcast platforms that you listen to podcasts. Go take a listen, go rate us, go share us, subscribe to us, like us, hit the little bell to get those notifications when we get on live. And yeah, go and watch and listen to the other shows on here on Star 6 Media, EAFP, JCA Sports, which is live right now. 3 Up, 3 Down, Sports Trip Live, and Slot Shot. So after us, go take a listen to JCA and go subscribe and share and rate and all that good stuff. And we will see you guys later. Kyle, any little chive to wrap it up?
Nope, I'm about to go play some ice hockey with you. Can't wait.
I love it. We're also going to get a NASCAR pod up soon. No, I'm just kidding. All right. All right, Kyle. I will see you next time.
See ya.
See ya.